make sure you're subscribed to JerCrispy.
B-E-T.
And what does that stand for?
Black.
What's up, y'all? It shows most that's the most. JerCrispy, look back in that video. 7 times the Boondocks exposed real life actors. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, follow our social media. It's gonna pop on the screen. We're on the road to that 500. Let's see what's going on with this. 7 times the Boondocks exposed real life actors.
What network do you work for?
B-E-T.
And what does that stand for?
Black Entertainment.
No! Black Evil Television.
Now.
I got shot! I got shot! No, I got shot for real! I got shot for real!
The Boondocks was never just a cartoon. It was a mirror held up to society, unafraid to call out the biggest names in entertainment with ruthless satire.
This music sucks right now. You gotta act like an idiot just to stare in their faces. But if I can stay in just the right amount of trouble, I'll be all right.
From a megachurch leader with a dark secret to a superstar singer on trial for his sins.
Not only will we prove it is Mr. Kelly in the video, we will prove that the victim was 14 at the time the video was shot.
The show exposed cracks in the celebrity image long before headlines did. And the shocking part? Most of these portrayals hit closer to reality than people care to admit.
A lot of these stories in the Boondocks they were inspired by something real.
Let's talk about 7 times the Boondocks unapologetically exposed real-life actors. The Boondocks had slick animation, hilarious dialogue, and characters wild enough to keep you glued to the screen. But beneath all that, Aaron Magruder was using satire as a weapon. Every joke was layered, and every outrageous scene was designed to make you stop laughing for a second and ask yourself, wait, why does this feel a little too real? That was the genius of Magruder's vision. He knew that comedy could go places raw truth couldn't. People might turn away from a lecture on race, class, or hypocrisy, but wrap it inside a cartoon? Suddenly, folks are paying attention, whether they realize it or not. Take Huey Freeman, for example. On paper, he was just a 10-year-old kid with a big afro. But in every scene, he carried the weight of a revolutionary. He called out hypocrisy, pointed out systems of oppression.
That's crazy. And I never thought it was a female doing Huey and Riley's voice. I thought it was 2 separate dudes doing their voices. That's crazy.
And exposed the apathy in people who knew better but chose silence.
I got an idea. Let's go to college so we don't end up like Gangstalicious.
Viewers dismissed him as that angry little radical, but that was the point. Then there was Riley, his younger brother, who lived in a different kind of satire. Riley was the byproduct of media saturation, a kid raised by rap videos, celebrity culture, and a consumerist machine that profits off confusion. To him, rebellion meant flashing guns, flexing in designer clothes, and chasing the kind of manhood that was never real to begin with.
I know it's 2 words. Real don't follow instructions.
Millions of kids were internalizing the same scripts, and the Boondocks put a mirror right up to it. What looked like Riley being ridiculous was actually commentary on how media manufactures identities and sells them back to people who don't even realize they're being played. And then there was Uncle Ruckus. The joke so wild.
Oh God, Uncle Ruckus, bro. Especially that one he was singing in the studio saying, y'all know what I'm talking about, saying, bruh.
You had to laugh until you didn't.
So many people complained about Uncle Ruckus, so we had to remove him from the comic strip and we put him in the show. You know what I'm saying?
Here was a black man who believed he had a disease called revitiligo that made his skin white. A man who praised slavery, worshipped whiteness, and degraded every black person he met.
I start each day by thanking the white man for the sunrise, for the land I walk on, for the air I breathe. I also apologize but Lord knows they ain't gonna apologize for themselves.
Over the top? Absolutely. But the satire was aimed squarely at something real, internalized racism. That psychological chain that doesn't need whips or plantations.
Hey, we ever wonder why his other eye was so like that? Or that happened when he was like a little kid or something like that.
Anymore. Because it's baked into institutions, culture, even personal belief. That's what made people uncomfortable. The Boondocks wasn't afraid to take taboo subjects and force them into the conversation. However, time and time again, audiences dismiss.
When Jess uses Bank Smartly checking and savings, we help her money work harder.
Dismissed the show as just a cartoon. They brushed off the satire as exaggeration. But then, real life started catching up. The satire stopped being abstract and started feeling personal when it started aiming at real-life actors. Suddenly, the people being exposed weren't characters on a screen. They were sitting in real offices.
Yeah, I think like characters that was on the show, like rappers, Snoop Dogg, Lil Wayne. I know the dad from Friday, Craig dad. Willie. I think that's what his name was, Willie. Ain't nobody want all that salt, Willie. Yeah, he on the show because he voiced Grandpa. Who else is on the show? Cat Williams. Yeah, he on the show too.
Making real decisions, living real scandals. And when you drag them into a cartoon and strip away the PR polish, you don't just parody them, you expose them. And that's where the Boondocks became dangerous. When the Boondocks decided to go after Tyler Perry, they didn't hold back. The episode introduced Winston Jerome, a flamboyant playwright and cross-dressing cult leader who lured people into his world with gospel plays, over-the-top faith, and promises of stardom. For anyone paying attention, it wasn't hard to see who that character was supposed to be.
Stars a character named Winston Jerome.
Yes.
Who is very lightly veiled as Tyler Perry.
Yeah.
Yes.
The parody.
Yeah, I remember he was trying to get this whole what's it called? He was trying to get the whole episode shut down because he felt some type of way. And you remember, like, it was that one point in time that everybody was shocked that Tyler Perry was actually, yeah. I was like, bro, if Tyler Perry dressed up like Madea and he do all this other stuff, ain't nothing wrong with him doing what he done.
Worked because it pulled from stories people in the industry had already been whispering. Gary Anthony Williams, the actor who voiced Uncle Ruckus, once auditioned for a Tyler Perry film. He made it deep into the process, but during one of Perry's famous prayer circles, he found himself looking around instead of fully joining in. Later, he never got a call back. When Williams asked another actor what happened, he was told flat out. Perry expected full commitment during those moments, almost as if they were a test of loyalty. That detail made its way straight into the Boondocks episode, and it didn't stop there. Writers also slipped in the rumor that Perry would record those prayer circles, watching to see who was locked in and who wasn't. In the episode, Granddad ends up in Winston Jerome's cult and faces that same scrutiny.
Again.
My dude, that's it! Breathtaking!
For viewers, it was comedy. For people who knew the industry, it was a little too familiar. That's why the parody landed so hard. It was a reflection of how Perry allegedly ran his empire. Behind the scenes, the team actually pushed it even further in the early drafts. According to producer Carl Jones, the original version of the character literally looked like Perry and even used his real name, Emmett Perry Jr. Adult Swim caught it and shut it down.
Damn, bro. Hey, Adult Swim might be some W people, because ain't no way nobody gonna use my name if I was doing the same thing as Perry. But me and Perry is two different things. Me and Tyler Perry is two different things.
Saying they couldn't air something that blatant. The writers tried to sneak it through anyway by naming him Emmett Perry in one draft. But once the network realized, they pulled it back again. Eventually, they settled on Winston Jerome and altered his look just enough to avoid legal trouble. But even with those changes, everybody still knew who it was. Tyler Perry himself wasn't laughing. According to multiple producers, he personally called the network and demanded that the episode never be aired again. And he had the clout to make that stick.
Tyler himself called. Like, and said, "You guys better not ever air that again." You know, and at the time, he had a lot of shows at TBS.
At the time, Perry had a grip on TBS with a lineup of shows that were bringing in massive ratings. The Boondocks might have had a cult following, but compared to Perry's empire, it was small. When he said, "Don't air it again," the network listened. The episode only aired once on Adult Swim before being shelved. Some Boondocks staffers admitted later that they were almost surprised Perry reacted so strongly, but at the same time, they understood why. The Winston Jerome character's sexuality, for example, was played as a hidden secret behind his church persona. That was a direct jab at rumors Perry had been battling for years. For him, that line was exposing things he worked hard to keep quiet. Looking back, that episode is one of the clearest examples of how fearless the Boondocks could be. But that was just one of the many shots the show fired. The Boondocks went on to take aim at R. Kelly in the episode The Trial of R. Kelly, aired in 2005. It was long before the world finally saw R. Kelly convicted in a real courtroom, and that's what makes this one stand out. It wasn't just comedy, it was prophecy. The setup was simple. R. Kelly goes on trial for sexually abusing a minor, but the show doesn't focus on whether he did it. Instead, it zooms in on the people around him, the fans, the community, even the courts, and how quick they were to excuse him. Women fainting in the courtroom, people chanting, "Free R. Kelly," and a whole town willing to look the other way because they loved his music. Huey Freeman became the voice of reason. He stood there with moral clarity.
They probably was like this, man, get this little ass kid out of my fucking face. We don't care about this little nigga. Shut your bitch ass up.
Everyone that wrong is wrong. Evidence is evidence. But almost nobody wanted to hear him. Not the fans, not the jury, not even some of his own family.
And they told this nigga, man, shut your bitch ass up. Nigga,
Huey's frustration was the audience's frustration. How could people defend a man caught on tape? And yet, in real life, that's exactly what was happening. In the episode, R. Kelly walks free. The crowd celebrates. People treat him like a hero. Huey shakes his head in disbelief. It felt exaggerated at the time, but the truth is it wasn't. Back in the early 2000s, R. Kelly's fan base was so loyal that the real trial ended with him acquitted. Juries hesitated. Communities defended him. His music kept climbing the charts. The Boondocks writers didn't make that up. They just exaggerated it enough for people to laugh and then realize how absurd it really was. Years later, when R. Kelly was finally convicted, people went back to that Boondocks episode. Suddenly, it felt less like a cartoon and more like a prediction. The same blind loyalty that once shielded him was finally breaking down. But the show had been pointing it out all along. When the Boondocks came back for its 4th season, one of the next shots it took was at Chris Brown. Only, it didn't call him Chris Brown.
Wait, what Chris Brown did? Oh, that Rihanna situation or something like that?
The show wrapped him up in a new name, a flashy alter ego called Pretty Boy Flip Michael B. Jordan. But anybody watching knew exactly who it was supposed to be. The hair, the cocky attitude, the bad boy persona were a direct parody of Chris Brown.
And that's supposed to be tight on the side?
Women, Tom. Women. And women hate to be bored.
And just like Brown, Flizzy wasn't just known for music. He carried around baggage, legal trouble, messy relationships, and a fan base that, no matter how many times he stumbled, couldn't seem to let him go. The episode doesn't waste time making its point. Flizzy is brought in on robbery charges, and somehow he convinces Tom Dubois, a prosecutor, to represent him. It doesn't really make sense legally, but the writers aren't trying to get into courtroom realism. What they're showing is the bizarre way celebrity culture bends reality. Someone like Flizzy or Chris Brown could walk into a mess of criminal charges and still find a way to charm people into bending the rules for him.
This music sucks right now. You gotta act like an idiot just to stare in their faces. But if I can stay in just the right amount of trouble, I'll be all right.
And from the start, Flizzy isn't painted as some tragic figure. He's brash, arrogant, and openly violent. His songs are over-sexualized and shallow. Women scream for him anyway. Tom, who's usually uptight and cautious, ends up falling into his orbit. playing the role of lawyer/babysitter while trying to hold together his fragile marriage to Sarah. That subplot becomes important because Flizzy doesn't just parody Chris Brown's public scandals. He becomes a mirror that exposes the desires and insecurities inside Tom and Sarah's relationship. What made the parody sting for a lot of viewers was how directly it called back to Chris Brown's real-life controversies. Flizzy openly admits to beating his girlfriend Christiana, a clear stand-in for Rihanna. It's not played with ambiguity, not something hinted at. He owns it almost proudly, and then shrugs it off because he knows his fame will carry him through. At the same time, the episode leans into the idea of celebrity spectacle. Flizzy brags about staging crimes and staying in trouble just to keep his name alive. He flat out says his music isn't good enough to hold attention, so controversy is the strategy. That's where the writers really pushed into uncomfortable territory, because whether you agreed or not, it reflected a truth about how media and fandom work. The scandal often becomes the brand. For someone like Chris Brown, his image as a dangerous, unpredictable star was sometimes just as powerful as his music. Then there was the pair of episodes that took aim at BET with the Uncle Ruckus reality show.
Oh, God. Oh. Dude. There you go. That I had lost my spot, bro. Sometimes I do be losing my spot.
Out all along. When the Boondocks came back for its fourth season, one of the next shots it took was at Chris Brown. Only, it didn't call him Chris Brown. Predictable star was sometimes just as powerful. E.T. with the Uncle Ruckus reality show being the sharpest knife in the set. Unlike the parodies of individual celebrities, this one went straight for the jugular of an entire network. And not just in passing jokes. The show painted BET executives as cartoonishly evil, openly dedicated to destroying black culture for profit. And it didn't even try to hide who it was pointing at.
Welcome to BET headquarters. I'm Deborah Level. It's 2 p.m., so it's time for a morning staff
Ain't that sound like old dude with the bald head that be doing that stuff?
meeting.
Deborah Lee, who was running BET at the time, was turned into Deborah Level, a deadpan parody that played her like a black Dr. Evil from Austin Powers.
That's what I said.
Reggie Hudlin, who had once actually worked with Aaron Magruder on the Boondocks, showed up as Wedgie Rudlin, a grinning Ivy League type who had no problem feeding garbage to the culture as long as it kept the checks rolling in.
What network do you work for?
BET.
And what does that stand for?
Black
Right,
Entertainment.
Oh! Black Evil Television.
The satire was ruthless. In the episode, Level brags in staff meetings about how BET's mission is nothing less than the destruction of black people. It's over the top, but it doesn't feel random. Every line is built on an accusation that Magruder had been making for years, that the network, instead of uplifting, was intentionally dumbing down its audience. Even the so-called innovations in the show's fake BET boardroom were parodies of the network's real programming. They joked about...
Did freaking the Boondocks predicted the BET how acting like this year? Because you know how the Tyler situation where, you know, they only let Kai Cenat in because Tyler was not like saying not that popular to be in BET. And then when Kai pulled up, they start acting, bowing down to that man. They're like, "Oh my God, he's the greatest. We gotta get him right." Like, dude, no, treat everybody 50-50.
Award shows celebrating video vixens, reality shows recycled from old MTV ideas, and executives bragging about unpaid staff. It was absurd, but it also reflected the way critics saw BET programming at the time. Flashy, shallow, and aggressively market-driven, and BET definitely didn't ignore it.
Damn.
According to multiple reports, the network tried to...
He grabbed the fuck out of his afro. Debo Strong got his.
And BET definitely didn't...
Nigga hit that boy with a, "Man, come here."
Ignore it. According to multiple reports,
And
the
put 'em in
network
a
tried
50
to
show.
block the episodes from airing in the United States. Sony, which produced The Boondocks, stayed quiet publicly, but industry insiders claimed BET even considered suing over the depictions. The idea that a cartoon could hit so close to home that a billion-dollar network felt threatened, no one was too powerful or untouchable to escape satire. Not even Sean Diddy Combs.
Wow.
Through the character of Gangstalicious, the show held up a mirror to the world of hip-hop.
We already knew Gangstalicious was based off of ND.
Exposing contradictions, hidden secrets, and the price of living a double life. On the surface, Gangstalicious was Riley Freeman's idol, a hardcore rapper with hit songs, flashy style, and street credibility. But beneath that exterior, he was portrayed as a man hiding his true self, navigating rumors, betrayals, and scandals.
Where's Gangstalicious?
Say that again. I couldn't hear you over the sound of me myself.
For many fans, it didn't take long to notice the parallels between this character and Diddy. And the deeper you look, the harder it is to shake the feeling that Aaron Magruder was hinting at something the culture was already whispering about. Gangstalicious's entire story arc revolves around image versus reality. In public, he flexes bravado, selling toughness and violence. In private, he's soft-spoken, vulnerable, and carrying a secret life he can't let the world see. That tension drives some of the funniest and most biting episodes of the Boondocks. From his anthem, Thuggin' Love.
Riley was wearing a whole freaking skirt and freaking top crop and all that stuff. And got a bag and said it was Gangstalicious stuff.
Where he raps about brotherhood and intimacy in ways that clearly blur the lines, to his clothing line that features cutout designs suspiciously impractical for streetwear. Gangstalicious becomes a living parody of rappers who preach one thing but live another. When fans lined these moments up against Diddy's larger-than-life persona, his obsession with fashion, his over-the-top parties, his rumored relationships and power plays, the comparisons practically wrote themselves. Take the way the Boondocks leaned into the theme of performing toughness. Gangstalicious admitted he built his hardcore image by imitating the rappers he grew up admiring, especially Ice Cube. In real life, Diddy followed a similar path. He started as a dancer and a background figure in the late 80s and early 90s, before reinventing himself as a mogul who embodied the very definition of swagger. Both figures built images that didn't always align with their private lives. The humor gets sharper when you look at the subplot involving Jessica Wondercheeks Ethelberg, a video vixen who publishes a tell-all book exposing Gangstalicious's hidden life. That storyline feels eerily familiar to Diddy's history. Over the years, models, partners, and insiders around him have whispered
we already know what's going on with that, bro.
About his private world, from Karine Superhead Steffens hinting at compromising moments to stories about girlfriends who supposedly held on to secrets too explosive to ever reach print. In one scene, Jessica reads from her book on live television, revealing Gangstalicious as so unbelievably gay. The moment is played for laughs, but the sting of recognition for fans who'd followed Diddy's rumors made it one of the show's boldest jabs. Then there's the violence. In one episode, Gangstalicious attacks a record executive with a bottle of liquor and later brags about it on TV. That plotline was almost a direct lift from Diddy's real-life incident with Steve Stout, a record executive he allegedly assaulted with a champagne bottle over a music video dispute. Diddy avoided major consequences at the time, reportedly smoothing things over with money. The Boondocks took that story and exaggerated it into absurdity, but the bones of the satire came straight from the headlines. It's important to note that Magruder never came out and said Gangstalicious was based on Diddy. The beauty of the Boondocks is that it never had to. The connections were left for the audience to piece together.
And he did a good connection on that, because look how that man acting last year and this year, bro.
Now, while the Boondocks was always bold about tackling real-life figures, some of its sharpest satire wasn't even aimed at celebrities or music moguls. Sometimes the show looked at viral figures or darker corners of society and turned them into characters that forced audiences to look twice. Two of the clearest examples are Lamilton Tayshaun and the Booty Warrior. Both were funny on the surface, but behind the laughs, the writers were holding up a mirror to behavior that was disturbing, real, and uncomfortably close to home. Lamilton Tayshaun shows up in the episode Smokin' with Cigarettes. He's basically a pint-sized menace with zero remorse. From the jump, he steals a car, causes chaos in the neighborhood, and seems to thrive on destruction. If you didn't know the backstory, you might think the Boondocks writers were exaggerating for shock value. But in reality, Lamilton
Dude, get this nasty ass alien motherfucker. Shit.
Milton is based on Latarian Milton, a 7-year-old from Florida who went viral back in 2008. He had stolen his grandmother's SUV and drove it through the streets, hitting parked cars and tearing up a neighborhood. When reporters asked him why, his answer became infamous. "I like to do hood rat stuff with my friends."
I stole my grandmother's car.
You said you do bad things. What kind of bad things do you do?
I don't listen to my grandmother, and I hurt people, and I smoke with cigarettes.
But the real story was a lot darker. Latarian genuinely didn't seem to care about the damage he caused, and later incidents, like assaulting his grandmother over fried chicken, made the story even more unsettling. The Boondocks captured that spirit perfectly. In the episode, Lamilton casually brags about doing bad things and smoking cigarettes. His delivery is flat, almost—
I don't know, son. I couldn't smoke no cigarettes. That's just me, though.
Almost bored, like chaos is just part of his daily routine. At one point, he even kills a dog in cold blood. It's shocking, but that was the point. To show how a viral meme about a funny bad kid was actually rooted in a disturbing lack of empathy. What the writers were really doing was cutting through the meme culture of the time. Back in 2008, the internet had a habit of turning shocking behavior into punchlines. A 7-year-old stealing a car became entertainment. The Boondocks flipped that on its head, saying, "Look closer. This isn't funny. This is a glimpse at a bigger problem." By exaggerating Latarian into Lamilton, they showed how society sometimes laughs at dysfunction instead of addressing it. The satire was direct, almost uncomfortable, but it worked because it forced people to rethink what they had
my nigga Riley throwing the bitches,
laughed at online.
Left, right.
Then there's the Booty Warrior.
Alright, we know about this episode. Come on now. This was funny.
Appearance in A Date with the Booty Warrior is one of the most infamous episodes of the show. And unlike Lamilton, who was based on a kid-turned-meme, the Booty Warrior came straight from the headlines. The character is based on Fleece Johnson, a convicted rapist who became notorious after appearing in a documentary about Kentucky State Penitentiary.
This guy named Fleece Johnson,
right,
who was a gay man in prison who forcibly, other men in prison.
In that interview, Johnson said something that went viral before memes were even a thing. Booty is more important than food. It's more important than water.
Getting some booty is more important than eating food. It's more important than drinking water.
The Boondocks took that real clip and built an entire episode around it. In the show, the Booty Warrior tries to assault Tom Dubois and even sets his sights on Chris Hansen, the host of To Catch a Predator. It's dark, it's uncomfortable, and it's undeniably over the top. But just like with Lamilton, the point wasn't just to shock. The writers were satirizing how prison culture had been turned into entertainment. Fleece Johnson's interview had circulated online, with people quoting his lines and laughing. But what he was actually talking about was horrifying. What ties both of these parodies together is how the Boondocks blended humor with discomfort. With Lamilton, the humor came from seeing a child act like a hardened criminal. But the discomfort was in realizing that the real-life inspiration wasn't far off. With the Booty Warrior, the humor came from his over-the-top obsession with booty. But the discomfort was in knowing those lines were taken directly from a real person, someone who had committed real crimes. The Boondocks didn't just parody celebrities.
Anyways, y'all, hope y'all enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow our social media pop on the screen. We're on the road to 500 and I'm out.